once again, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a lovely day. And so today's topic will be managing interpersonal relationships. And this is the agenda. Given the complexity and how the current pandemic has changed the events around us, and there's increased level of stress, we spoke about it last time, and we've been forced to accept the new normal. So it becomes imperative to coexist and have a healthy interpersonal relationship. So the key objective of the seminar is to help you to manage some of your interpersonal relationships. So we'll be covering a little bit about interpersonal skills. Why do you need these strategies to manage interpersonal skills? And let's say if you face a conflict, managing interpersonal conflict. Now, what are interpersonal skills? Behavior and tactics used to interact with others effectively. Now, interpersonal skills could include a lot of things. It could include your personality or character traits like manners, attitude, courtesy, habits, behavior, appearance. It could also include verbal, non-verbal communication, listening skills, negotiation skills, problem-solving skills, decision-making skills, and assertiveness. While each of these points can be a learning workshop in itself, we will be touching mainly on the first 4 points in some form or the other during the webinar. And we would all agree that interpersonal skills are helpful to improve relationships, working environment, leadership skills, productivity, and for all-round success. So now let me give you an example, of how one small aspect of culture can strain an interpersonal relationship. So, I had this relative of mine who actually happened to move or relocate from Madhya Pradesh to Maharashtra. And, when she moved, she came back to us telling us about how her experience was in Maharashtra and how she felt that a lot of people were very disrespectful. I was very curious to know, what happened, because I have stayed most of my life in Maharashtra and I was very curious to know what happened. Why does she think that people are so disrespectful? So coming from North, she felt that, when we talk in Hindi, we use the term aap for, when you want to give respect. But somehow she was not familiar with Marathi and, sometimes people addressed her as tu. So she felt that probably, this was not being respectful to her. So, and what she did not realize that calling her tu was equally respectful. So for example, even when in North India, when you address your mother, you'll say aap. But in Marathi, probably when you're addressing your mother, you call her tu, which is equally respectful. So, sometimes you cannot have the same cultural frame of reference or the same lens to see the new location or new set of people. And respect is a very important aspect of interpersonal relationship. We'll touch upon it as we go along. So this was one of the examples I wanted to talk about, that how small things, so there's so many small things which actually influence interpersonal skills and how we perceive each other. Okay. Now, okay. So now, before we go ahead, let's have a quick, activity. Let's again, so for those of you who are new and who were not there last time, just to give you a brief, we will first read the case study and then we will eventually move into breakout rooms like last time. So maybe let's start with the case study and then I will instruct how we go about the breakout rooms. So like last time, can I have a volunteer who would read it out for me?
Okay. Case study, activity breakout room, background. An important management review is scheduled soon after the national conference. Suresh, who is the boss, says, "Can you please collate the data after speaking to the team?" Rekha, his secretary, says, "Sure, sir." A week later, Suresh, "Rekha, can you please mail me the report I asked for last week?" Rekha, "But sir, I was busy with the national conference the whole week. Besides, I did not know you needed it this week." Suresh yells angrily, "Rekha, this is crazy. I was also busy. You should have completed it by now. What am I supposed to tell the management team now? You will make me look like an idiot." Rekha with a stressed look, "Okay, sir, I will try my best to give you the report as soon as I can."
So I think Most of you made a point about, the boss's communication was not clear. I think it's a very valid point. So while he spoke about, while he did say that I want the report, he did not really give the timelines. By when does he want the report? Or how important is it for him? Also somewhere, something which, I could see in the conversation was that he really lacked empathy. What happened was that there were two events back to back. There was a national conference and there was a review meeting scheduled. And just like probably how he was busy, so was the secretary. But he really failed to understand that part. Maybe if he would have realized and, if he would have empathized with her, maybe he could have asked her if she needs any help or was the time enough. So the empathy factor was really missing. He is, again, one more thing, that he's only looking at it from his perspective, that yes, okay, now he has a review meeting and, probably it will make him look bad in front of the management. But he failed to understand that probably even she was equally busy and she's not even thinking about where she's coming from. Another point which was inappropriate in this conversation probably was yelling. And I think which most of you talked about. And this really breaks the interpersonal relationship completely. I mean, Rekha will now focus on the fact that he was being disrespectful to her, rather than think about how she could improve next time. So I think the entire element, even if Rekha could have improved this for the next time, she would rather now think about how disrespectful he was in the whole conversation. So now let's discuss some of the strategies to manage interpersonal relationships. Now, what are relationships? Now, it is not just a superficial interaction. Relationships take time to build. So interpersonal relationship is like planting a tree. So what does a farmer do when he has to plant a tree? He has to first get the soil ready. He plants a healthy seed and then he nurtures it with water, fertilizer, sunlight. He even protects it from pests. And then finally, when the plant is grown up and it's ready, you can finally reap the fruits. So if you do not prepare the soil for interpersonal relationship, you cannot get love and trust and support in the relationship. You have to feed it with respect. You have to feed it with empathy, genuineness, care. And only then will you get that trust, support, and love. And all that you sowed in that soil. So what are the strategies to manage interpersonal relationship? The first one is exercising self-awareness. Now, when one tries to understand your feelings and behavior, it helps to be aware that how you think and feel about yourself, and that others may have a very different perspective of how they perceive themselves and you. Now, these different evaluation and reactions depend on 6 things, namely self-concept, value system, frame of reference, defense mechanism, interpersonal needs, and feelings, or what we also call as emotions. Now, what is self-concept? Self-concept is an idea that is constructed from the belief one holds about oneself and the responses of others. So we tend to be more receptive to those who are in sync with our self-concept. So for example, if I think I have great interpersonal skills, I may be more comfortable or receptive to someone who makes me feel the same way. What is value system? So this is more about your upbringing, your background, cultural norms. We spoke about one example earlier about how culture had influenced, my relatives' evaluation. So culture, background, and upbringing plays an important role when we are interacting. Now, for example, in certain cultures, one may eat dinner very early, maybe before sunset, and for some others, one may feel that it's too early for me to have dinner. Now, the third point is frame of reference. Value system, past experiences, etc., will develop into a frame of reference for perceiving others around you. Now, it's important to understand that frame of reference without judging them in terms of one's own value. Now, sometimes the problem is not in the other person. It's in the glasses that you're wearing. So, if there is a scratch in your glass, no matter what the other person does, you will still find the fault with him. So, it is very important that you have the frame of reference should be based on the other person also. Now, the fourth point is defense mechanism. Now, what are defense mechanisms? Defense mechanisms are behaviors people use to separate themselves from unpleasant events, actions, or thoughts. Now, these psychological strategies may help people put distance between themselves and the threats or unwanted feelings such as guilt or shame. Now, they can be very useful in the short term, but sometimes they can also hamper your relationships. For example, you had a very bad day at work and you're very angry with your colleague, but when you come home, you went out on your child. Another part of your own personality or someone else's personality is interpersonal relationship need. Everybody has different needs. Each of us have different needs. For example, somebody have a strong need for inclusion. Somebody may have a strong need for control, whilst third person may have a strong need for affection. So typically, if you just go down to the playground or even in office setups or work setups, when you observe a group, there will be one person who will be leading and who will be bossing around, even if it is a relationship of equals. So let me take an example of the playground. So if you go and see when the children are playing, maybe one person is the leader. There's one person who's just agreeing and he just wants to be a part of the group and will just probably just follow the leader without really arguing or going against him. There'll be somebody who's more keen on the affection part of it and who's looking for being best friends. So everybody's need is really different when they are interacting with each other about what they want. The sixth point is feelings. We spoke a great deal about it in our last workshop when we spoke about how our thoughts influence our feelings, and then that comes, that translates into our behavior. I hope you remember the think, feel, do circle that we spoke about last time. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but yes, what you think leads to what you feel and how you feel, and then eventually that translates into your behavior. So this was the first point on exercising self-awareness. Now, building good communication skills. For the ease of understanding, I've just divided into verbal, non-verbal, and paralanguage, although it's a very vast topic. Now, something which is very important in verbal communication is framing. How do we frame our sentences when we are interacting with people? For example, if I was to say, where did you get this weird idea from? Versus if I had to say, this idea is great, but may not be relevant to the context we're discussing in. You see how you frame? When you're framing it differently, the person becomes more receptive or more defensive accordingly. Another very good, takeaway in this point particularly is asking why question versus what questions. Many times we ask why did you do this versus what had happened. So, the why question really makes a person very defensive, and a what question allows more room for consideration. So, sometimes framing a what question may give it a lot more different sense and flavor in that sense. So in the case, what and why questions are, what and why questions really help you in making the person more open and receptive to what you're saying. Okay. So the next point is about non-verbal communication. What is this? This mainly includes your eye contact, facial expression, body language, all of that gets covered in non-verbal communication. Now, for example, let's say you're in a meeting and you disagree with somebody on what the person is talking. Even, simply just sitting there and maybe just rolling your eyes at him would have actually communicated that you disagree with him. And the fact that you rolled your eyes would have actually triggered a negative emotion in the speaker already, or he or she may be already hurt about the fact that this is what you did. So many times we communicate a lot more through a non-verbal behavior than your verbal behavior. Now, what is paralanguage? Paralanguage is the tone, pitch, and the pacing of voice. So, asking a question like, why are you late? And asking a question in a loud voice, why are you late? So there's a big gap. When you're yelling at someone, it definitely has a different impact compared to, why are you late? Likewise, you see a lot of times people use this. If you've heard cricket commentators, they talk really fast. The whole idea of talking fast is to create excitement. Or if you talk a late night, if you just listen to a late night radio jockey, hosting a show, probably they'll talk very slow. So paralanguage can actually have a lot of impact on your mood, your emotions, and how you feel certain things. Now, next point is to be respectful to others. Now, this is a very, very important point. I mean, if you communicate that if you communicate disrespect in any form, I think it's just the end of your interpersonal relationship. Now, sometimes we get so caught up in our own thoughts or our own point of view that in our mind, we conclude that the other person is wrong. For example, if I am very prejudiced against a particular person or a community, I may evaluate him based on my perception. So let's say I don't like blacks. Let's say that I think all blacks are dangerous. That's what I think. Now, when my husband gets his friend who is a black, probably, no matter how good he is or how kind he is, I will still tell my husband to please be careful of him. Now, what happens when I interact with him? My behavior and communication is also influenced by a strong bias that I am holding in my mind. Now, when we label people in our mind or are judging them based on our faulty thoughts or assumptions, you are more likely to be disrespectful and have a hampered relationship. So now what should we do? And what should we not do? So we need to stop judging others. That's the first thing. Another thing is dwelling in the past. Sometimes, we've had a bad experience with someone and we really get stuck up in this. Last time this person did this with me, but probably that was the only time the person did it with you. Or maybe it was just one-off case. But staying in the past will actually just make the entire interaction a lot more bitter. Third thing is labeling people in your thoughts or in your communication. So for example, if you say, oh, this person is like this only, I mean, you can't do much about it. That means you're labeling this person as being very talkative, or he is very ungrateful, or whatever you're labeling him as. That can also impact your communication. The fourth type is stereotyping, something similar to the example of blacks. Something like all women are bad drivers. So the moment women are bad drivers. So you already stereotyped a particular group. Even if she's not at fault, you will assume that the person is at fault. That is something which one must be aware and cautious of. Now, what should you do instead? A good way of showing that you respect others is by showing appreciation for their efforts and time. Showing gratitude and courtesy. Listening to what others have to say rather than just responding without really listening carefully. Being respectful of others' ideas and opinions, even when they differ from yours. Be polite. We saw it in the case that, the boss was so disrespectful that he almost yelled at his secretary. And the last point here that I want to make is give the devil his due. And how to do that? By not taking credit for his or her work. We often see that at work, sometimes people just come, you've done all the hard work and somebody just comes and, tries to just sweep away all the limelight. Now that is being very disrespectful. Even when we are doing research work, we always make it a point to, give credit to the author who has published this. This is important. Why just stick to the research work? Even in your interaction, if somebody has done, even if you have built up on it, please, one needs to be really careful about giving credit to the person who has actually done this. So now, what is empathy? One needs to show empathy, but what is empathy? Now, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Now, have you thought of why are you so close to your mother or your spouse or your best friend? Because you know that no one understands you the way this person does. So when you empathize, you're actually sowing seeds for a healthy relationship. Now, in the case also, the boss was not mindful of the fact that there are two events back to back. He wasn't being empathetic at all. He was just thinking about himself and the next review for which the data was not prepared. Right? Now, engaging in active listening. Now, we all are listening, even to this workshop. What is active listening? Many of us sometimes are so eager to talk that we just interrupt even before the other has completed his point. Now, active listening is not superficial hearing to respond, but the ability to understand where the person is coming from. It involves being interested in what the person is saying. Patience and commitment to listen not only shows that you care, but also demonstrates respect for another person. So when you're listening to someone very carefully, you are showing that you really care and you're also respectful of him. Authenticity. Now, this is a very interesting one because I've experienced not just in work setups but also in personal relationships. What is authenticity? Authenticity is more about consistency. Have you heard or felt people saying that XYZ is a hypocrite? He has different standards for himself, or he just has double standards. So let me give you an example. One of my office colleagues, long back when I was working with Tata Motors, he had, he had come, I remember this incident distinctly because he used to always tell me about how his wife was being treated by her boss, and that, the boss did not give her enough time, specifically because she was pregnant, and he expected him to be mindful of that condition of hers. However, when a similar situation arose for him, when there was a lady who was pregnant in his work scenario, who was a part of his team, I realized he used to hold her back late hours. Now, this means that he was not being authentic. He had two different standards, one for his wife and one for his colleague. So this kind of behavior is not seen as genuine, and this can really severely impact your interpersonal skills. Very important to be authentic. Behave and speak appropriately. Now, we would all agree that there is time and place for everything. If your spouse or your best friend shares a private conversation with you openly, if you just come and start talking about it, I think that is so inappropriate, and it would definitely hurt his or her feeling. Or likewise, let's say if you go to a fine dining restaurant, I mean, you wouldn't call the waiter by blowing a whistle. So these kind of inappropriate behaviors can actually hamper relationships. Same goes for what you talk and how you talk. Your language at home might be very casual, but when you are in a professional work setup, the language you use is going to be very different. Now, what is being, be receptive to feedback? And why is it important? Now, if you're receptive to feedback, it helps you to know more about yourself, and you can work on your interpersonal skills accordingly. Now, if you look at the Johari window on the right, this is a very nice and an interesting activity which I really can't do on a virtual platform. But this, let me just explain you this graph a little bit. So if you see the window which says open in it, is that part of yourself which is known to you and is known to others. So for example, I know that I am very friendly, and my friends know that I am very friendly. The hidden window is more like a facade, which I know, but others don't know. So I know that I am very competitive, but probably others don't know that I am competitive. Now you see the orange window, which is the blind spot and the most important window to focus on. This is about what others know about you and you don't know about yourself. So for example, others may feel that I'm really bad in communication, but I think I'm brilliant. So this is this part of the window, which when you are receptive to feedback, you get more insight into things which others know and you don't know about. And the last window, of course, doesn't need much attention because it is something which others don't know and you also don't know. You really can't do much about it. So the focus should be on the orange window. So if you're receptive, you're focusing there more. So just to summarize, these were 8 points that we discussed. Exercising self-awareness, build good self-awareness, build good communication skills, be respectful of others, show empathy, engage in active listening, authenticity, behave and speak appropriately, be receptive to feedback. So we now move on to the next section, which is managing conflict. Okay. Now, before we move ahead, let's discuss this case study. And this is a very interesting case study. I will do one thing. Let's try someone who's confident in the sense that their network is good, maybe can read this out. And then we break out into the breakout rooms. In case if the network is weak, I will then take over and probably I will read the case study, because this is a very important case study that I would like to focus on. And this time probably when we go into the breakout rooms, I will give you a little more time. Maybe instead of 5 minutes, we'll have 8 minutes for ourselves. So someone who can go and read it. Can I have someone to read it? Who is?
Hello. Anybody who has a good network?
Oh, it's.
That only you will find out.
Yes, you are
I
able to
won't
speak
know.
well. You are speaking well. Yes.
I think Adil, you have a good network here. Please try. No? Adil.
All right, I will start reading. If my network is not good, you let me know.
Yeah,
Okay?
please.
Yeah. Though I don't
Yeah. Adil,
fancy
please
myself being in
mute
this
your audio.
situation.
Okay. Okay. I think sorry.
Yeah.
I will have to interrupt you. Probably I will read myself because I'm not really sure on the internet network in India. I think let's keep it easy so that everybody is able to hear me out.
Okay.
Okay. Others in the meantime can just take screenshots and pictures. Yeah. Okay. So background. College management has decided to get NAAC accreditation. Teachers and staff have been informed, and a preliminary review has been organized to identify the gaps and areas of improvement. The principal, Mr. Mohanty, has now been asked to share the findings and make action plans for course correction in the staff meeting. Now, Mr. Mohanty, we need to jointly work on an action plan, and you all need to take this seriously. We have two specific areas that all teachers need to work on. Sneha, who's a teacher. Sir, I'm curious to know, what are you expecting us to do? When are you expecting us to do this additional work? Mr. Mohanty, I'm equally busy, Sneha. I have no vested interest. We all have to do this. Sneha, sorry to say, sir, only clock hour teachers like us end up doing all the extra work. Radha, another teacher. Sneha, please mind your language. Are you accusing the senior teachers are not working? Mr. Mohanty, please calm down, everyone. Is there a problem, Sneha? Sneha, yes, sir. I think you should either increase our salary, hire someone else to do it, or give it to teachers who have time. Mr. Mohanty, this is a part of every teacher's job, and there can be no exception in your case. Now, what's the task here? So you need to analyze, why did this conflict arise? What could have been done to avoid this conflict? Now again, before we go into the breakout room, please take a picture or a screenshot of this slide. Choose your leader, preferably someone who has not spoken as yet, and all groups get maybe 7 to 8 minutes in the breakout room. So manage your time effectively. Once you're back, group leaders will summarize 2 points: why the conflict had arisen and what could have been done to avoid this conflict. I think most of you have covered all the points, but just to take away some key points, I think the disagreement was mainly on the workload, right? And there were 2 issues in communication. First one was from the principal, who was not really able to explain why the NAAC accreditation is so important for the teaching staff, students, and college in general. And also the communication from the side of Sneha. So the tone, most of you mentioned, was very confrontational, right from the very beginning. The question that she asked was so sarcastic, rhetoric, and the words that she used, she even ended up, offending one of the senior teachers. So, and if you would have noticed, Sneha's comments were very generalized, that, it happens to only clock hour teachers, or this happens only with us. Very general statement, no evidence given, no specifics given, no details given. And let's say, even if it has happened in the past, when she's making a point, there's a big requirement to say when what had happened. Making a general statement like this will really make it look like a loose comment. Again, the language, tone, everything was so objectionable, and there was direct confrontation in a common forum, which was again inappropriate, maybe individually, even if there were concerns, could have been taken separately. So now let's go ahead. We will keep revisiting the case as we go along. So what happens when you want to manage interpersonal conflict? What is it that one needs to do? But to understand that, what is conflict first? Now, conflict is not the same thing as fighting. Conflict is a disagreement that can be addressed appropriately. So now let's say the first point talks about face and accept conflict. But sometimes what happens is that when we are in disagreement with somebody or someone, we tend to sometimes either, just hide into our own shell or become over aggressive. Now, while it is important to address the conflict, one has to be assertive. Sometimes it may even mean developing a courage to go and talk to the person. Now, why is it important to face the conflict and iron out the disagreement? Because an unresolved disagreement may derail a project or hamper your interpersonal relationship forever. So for example, in this case, the NAAC accreditation may be very important for the college. And if these differences are not ironed out now, maybe there are some other teachers like Sneha who think so. If it is not ironed out, one may not be able to really work towards the common objective. So before you go for the discussion, your points should be ready. You should be able to channelize your thoughts and be ready. Now, how do you manage this conversation and overall conflict is what we will discuss in the next few points. Now, focus on the behavior and not person. Now, this is a very important point. Many times what happens is we start thinking, oh, the person is like this only. So let's say if Radha goes back to her staff room and she says, Sneha is like this only, ma'am. What to do? She's like this only. She's always been like this. I mean, that's her. That's her. So when you make sentences like these, these kind of sentences will have a deep impact on you. Now what happens? When you say that, you are associating that in your mind somewhere that Sneha is a bad person compared to the situation. So, I can guarantee you at any, so next time, when you face a conflict, if there's any disagreement and you tell yourself that he is doing this maybe because of ABC reason rather than how he is, you are more prepared for an open conflict resolution conversation. So rather than saying that Sneha is like that, perhaps if one says maybe her communication skills are weak, maybe she had a genuine concern which she was unable to speak about in a forum. So when you change the focus from the individual or the behavior, from a person to the behavior of the event, you are able to rise out of the conflict scenario. So now the third point. Now take time to listen, think, and analyze. I think we all agree that Sneha didn't do any of this. Whenever there's a disagreement, don't jump into pushing your point of view. Most importantly, don't be overly passive or aggressive. Listen carefully, understand where they are coming from, and then respond. Analyze pros and cons of each person's argument. Perhaps it would have helped if she would have waited and understood and heard out the principle in totality. Talk it out. Now, when you try to address a disagreement, it's very important to maintain a bond with the person with whom you disagree. Acceptance and agreement are two different things that people often get confused. Acceptance is more about, okay, I'm listening to you, I understand your point of view, but I still choose to disagree with you. Okay, treat the other person as an ally and not as an enemy, and find a common ground for mutual respect, regard, and cooperation. Sometimes, when we are in a conversation, in a conflict related conversation, we end up using, really exaggerated words. We do name calling, we do generalization. Like in this case, she said, oh, it happens to all of us. So, we have to be very careful about using neutral language when you're trying to talk it out. Very important. We just get carried away sometimes based on what we are feeling. The fifth point here is work together. Now, this requires that each person stops placing the blame and takes ownership of the problem. Make a commitment to work together and listen to each other to solve the conflict. Now, sometimes it is useful to focus on a greater good. So, for example, in this case, why is NAAC so important? Probably it's very good for the students. Probably it is very good for the teachers. Maybe there'll be good funding. Maybe there will be good number of admissions. Maybe the teacher-student ratio could be raised. So, there could be many benefits. Look at the larger good. Second, explain what you are saying. Why are you saying? Whatever you are saying, whatever Sneha was saying, maybe it made sense, but she was not able to explain why she was saying what she was saying. Third, be creative. It's okay. Sometimes, when people disagree, certain things have been happening in a particular way. Maybe we could, the situation could be such that people could have thought about it creatively. Let's say Probably they could have thought of, having an office boy to help out in certain activities, for example. Could be anything. One can be creative. Be specific. We discussed about the fact that Sneha did not be specific at all. So being specific is also important. And the sixth point is apologize when it is your fault. Now, if you look at the graph on the right hand side, sometimes, what happens, when we are in a conflict kind of a scenario wherein, we have different point of views, we end up being in the green box. What is the green box? The green box says, when an individual is very high on competitiveness and very low on cooperation. Rather, if one moves from the green box to the purple box, when one is competitive about sharing his point of view and his thought, but at the same time is very high on cooperation, there can be some very good collaboration that can happen there. So apologizing does not make you look small. It only means that you have the humility to admit your mistake. Don't make disagreements into war of ego. The seventh point is choose your battles. Now, choosing your battle is more of a metaphor, which means that sometimes we just disagree without any concrete reason and derail the whole conversation or the meeting. It doesn't really serve any purpose to anyone, but probably just because you have a point, you may just utter something and you just want to make a point in a meeting. So, one must be careful about derailing the entire conversation. No point in getting into an argument which really doesn't serve the purpose. The eighth point here is work to minimize conflict. Now, this is where the principles part could have come in. It could be providing clarity at the onset, could be setting up a clear process, or defining certain common assumption objectives, or simply using the right words. So, sometimes if we just set the expectation right, and if we are really elaborate and detailed about what is the expectation, what are the assumptions we are making here, conflict can really be minimized. So when we are dealing with interpersonal issues or conflict, one has to look inwards. And we're almost there at the last slide. Your thoughts are like magnets. So every person, all events of your life are there because you have drawn them there. What you choose to do with them is totally up to you. So look inwards before really getting into any kind of a conflict. So